Hey there tech fans, Rick here again from the OREI team. In today's video, I'll explain how a simple audio extractor like the one I have in front of me allows you to easily add a soundbar to your gaming setup to deliver much better audio and that full immersive experience you're looking for. Now we all know that modern computer monitors have gotten a whole lot better in recent years, but most of them don't include a speaker, or if they do have a speaker, it's so small that it delivers terrible audio. And even if you're playing your game console on a widescreen TV, most modern displays have gotten so thin and the speaker so small that again, you're getting terrible audio from that display. So the easy answer is to add a soundbar to your gaming setup that'll produce rich sound and really allow you to enjoy the game with all of the sound effects that the designers built into that particular game. But it's tricky to do that because most computer monitors have a limited number of connections on the back, which may allow you to add some analog speakers or maybe even an optical speaker, but they're complicated to set up. And the same is true with most home displays where you have a limited number of connections that really curtail what type of soundbar you can use externally. And that's exactly what an audio extractor is designed to help with. This product allows you to connect an external soundbar or home stereo system to virtually any display that's using an HDMI cable. And the way it works is pretty simple. The audio extractor has the ability to strip the audio from the HDMI media stream passing through it and allow you to send that through an analog or a digital connection to a newer soundbar like this, or even an older home stereo through a left and right stereo connection. And the best part is, it doesn't impact the quality of the video that's being sent to your display, and it's incredibly easy to use. Now the one I have in front of me is the BKA-1 from OREI, and the nice thing about this product is that it's an 8K compliant product, which means most newer video games are 4K, but we all know the resolution is going to increase in the coming years, probably to 8K and even higher. So knowing you've got a product like this that doesn't down-res the solution on the way out is really important. So this product is 8K on the way in and 8K on the way out. So you're going to get a crystal clear picture on your display, but while it's passing that video and audio through the unit, it's actually extracting the audio and again allowing you to pass that along to a soundbar like this for that incredibly rich sound. Now before I go too deep into the demonstration, I'd like to take a closer look at the unit so I can show you what type of typical connections you'll want to make to an audio extractor, and then I'll come back and do a short demonstration, and more importantly I'd like to point out a few things to keep in mind when you're comparing each of these audio extractors against each other, because there are certain specifications you'll need to be aware of that make it easy for you to compare, say, the BK1 with other products you may be considering. So stay tuned, I'll take a closer look and then I'll come back with the demonstration. Most audio extractors have similar connections, and for this example I'm using the OREI BKA-1, which features a full metal enclosure, and that makes it incredibly durable. Now on either side of this cabinet you'll find ventilation slots that are designed to let any heat that develops escape to keep the electronics inside at a comfortable temperature. On the front of the BKA-1 you'll find a power indicator, an input indicator, and an output indicator. When you add power to the unit, the power indicator will come on, letting you know that you've got solid power. The input and output indicators are related to the HDMI cables you'll plug in to pass the signal through the unit. When you make the connection to the media player and the monitor, both of those HDMI connections are checked. Once they've been verified, both of these LEDs will come on. So under normal operation, the power, input, and output LEDs should all be lit. To the right of that is an ARC control section. This unit is ARC compliant, so if you have a soundbar or a monitor that has ARC capabilities, you can plug it into that port. You can turn the ARC function on by tapping that button. You'll see the LED come on. To the right of that is a bank of EDID switches, and those are used to adjust for different resolutions and frame rates and audio styles, and they're fully explained in the manual. That's an important thing to look for on an audio extractor because it allows you to modify whatever needs to be modified to accommodate a wide range of different audio and video file types. To the right of that is a service port, and that's used for updating the firmware on this particular model if needed later on. You'll simply connect it to your computer, move the firmware file over, and complete the upgrade, and that may introduce new features or different file types. On the rear of the units where you'll make all your connections, you'll find an input and an output HDMI port. The input connects up to whatever your source is. In this case, it's a game console. The output connects up to your monitor. To the right of that are two outputs for audio connections. You have a digital optical connection and an analog left and right 3.5mm connection. If you have a newer soundbar, you can use the optical connection with an SBTM cable. If you've got an older stereo that's got a left and right input, you can use a cable between here to your stereo. And then to the right of that is a power connection. You use the power supply that came with the kit, plug it into the wall. The barrel connector plugs in right there. Now, this particular unit has a single optical and a single analog. A lot of audio adapters may actually have an HDMI output like this one. They could also have other connections on the back as well. So depending on what you're connecting to from a sound perspective, you'll want to check the output connections to make sure you at least have one optical, or one digital I should say, and one analog. That's pretty much it for the audio extractor. It's a very simple unit to use. I hope that closer look was helpful. And now I'll do a quick demonstration to show you just how easy it'll be to use a product like this with your own equipment. And for this demonstration, over here I've got a small media player that's currently looping a video on this monitor, and that's your game console. And I'm just using this to simulate a game console, but it can be pretty much any HDMI media device that outputs a standard HDMI signal. This monitor doesn't have an internal speaker, and it's got very limited external connections, only analog left and right, for me to connect up a speaker set, which is not going to really deliver that rich audio I'm looking for. In front of me, I have the audio extractor, and to my left, I've got a soundbar that I'd like to use to reproduce the audio that should be playing in the background in that video. Now, the first set of connections I'll make are to the audio extractor from the media devices, and I'll start by disconnecting my output display from my media player and plugging that directly into the HDMI output port on the audio extractor. And now I need to reconnect my media device to the audio extractor. I'll need another HDMI cable to do that. And one important thing to keep in mind, you'll want to use a high-speed, high-quality HDMI cable for all these connections to ensure you get the best possible resolution picture on your display. So I've got a second HDMI cable right here. I'll connect that back up to my media device. In your case, it'll be a game console. And the other end of that plugs into the HDMI input port on the audio extractor. Now, once I've made those two connections, I can power up the audio extractor. I've already plugged in the power supply. That'll basically plug right into the DC input port on the back of the unit. And the minute I do that, the audio extractor starts an internal power and self-test to check the electronics to make sure everything is working okay. It's also carefully checking the resolution of my input device and the resolution of the display to make whatever adjustments are needed to give you the best possible picture. And that takes a couple of seconds to happen. And there you go. So essentially what we've done is inserted the audio extractor between the media device and my display. So right now it looks just like it did before. But here's the best part. This unit now is automatically stripping the audio and video, and it's ready to send that audio over to my soundbar. Now I'm going to use an optical connection, but I could also use an HDMI ARC connection or left and right analog 3.5mm connection. So this type of audio extractor gives you a lot of different choices on what type of product you can use. And the best part is, this is digital, but if you had an older stereo that was analog left and right, you could use this extractor as well, and you can use both at the same time, which is pretty nice. All right, so I'll plug this into the audio output. There's an optical output on the back. And once I make this connection, there you go. So what you're hearing is the audio from the media, in your case, the video game. All the sounds, the explosions, the gunfire will come through here at a really high quality audio, and you can view it just like you did before on your display. So if you're playing on a computer monitor, you've got great audio. If you're watching it on a widescreen TV, again, you've got improved audio. And you can include systems up to 7.1, so you get surround sound and everything else going because of this small little device. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. Let me mute this. When you're searching for an audio extractor like this, you want to make sure, number one, that the resolution is as high as possible. Most audio extractors on the market will cover 4K, but they may only cover it at 30 frames per second. You want to make sure that it's at least 4K at 60 frames a second. In this case, it's an 8K product at 60 frames a second, so it can handle a high resolution at a really high bit rate. You also want to check both the HDMI and the HDCP certifications, because the HDMI standard has gone through a lot of changes in recent years. There have been a lot of new features introduced to HDMI, so knowing you're on one of the latest versions of the HDMI standard is really important. This product is HDMI 2.1 compliant. The HDCP certification is also very important because that controls copy protection. So you want to make sure you're on a later version of HDCP, in this case 2.3. So HDMI 2.1, HDCP 2.3, 8K at 60 frames a second means that I can use this today with all of my gaming systems, and it's really future-proof because as the resolutions increase or the HDMI standards change, this product can accommodate it, so I know I won't have to worry about upgrading my audio extractor if I change my soundbar, change my game console, or change my display. And it really is just that simple to get it working. It's an incredibly functional device that provides a lot of value and is really easy to set up. And that's all there really is to it. So I hope you found this review helpful. And until next time, thanks again for watching.